I think she wants to use us, which is always funny. That's happened 15 times now.
Yeah.
Which is okay. I like that. But the message freaked me. I was like, oh crap. I don't want any more bad news this holiday.
Yeah, it's kind of that week of Thanksgiving was pretty hairy.
Yeah, I don't know. Your oldest daughter, you said, had
her best friend's mom died.
Yeah.
And she'd kind of been her caregiver for the last year.
Yeah. So Merry freaking Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, I have been recording, but that's not the cold open.
No.
Yeah, that's a little dark.
No.
So that's not it. So y'all can. Well, we're recording.
Okay. We'll just let's switch up the subject. So Coke has a really good taste to it.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, back in the day, wasn't it made with actual cocaine?
Back in the day, yeah. Back long before either of us were walking the earth.
Yeah. So this message is, don't snort Coca-Cola, kids. There's your oven.
Have you ever had it come out your nose?
Oh yes, God, that burns. Yeah, but right now I can't breathe out of either nostril because of sinuses. Well, kind of this one. Yeah, I'm all right with this one.
Thanks for the demonstration.
You're welcome. So anyways,
we're glad you can breathe.
Yeah, especially. So anyways, on this episode of the NerdBrand Podcast, we're discussing brand positioning. What is it? And
is it over here?
Or
is it over here?
Yeah, where does it go? Where do we put it? So we're going to talk about some familiar brands and what they make us think of when, we think of their name. That's basically it. How do you sit in the mind of your customer? So I'm your host, Jason. This is Mitch, and it's just us. It's just a nice, intimate setting.
Jonathan is on assignment.
Yes, John's on assignment. We do have Robert in the booth.
I am here if you need me.
See, it's like we have a. It's like
we can't live without you.
Yeah, it's like we have a Jamie. It's kind of cool.
But Robert, my name's Robert. Everybody, not Jamie.
Yeah. No, it's Robert, and we have to say Robert because there's 3 of them here. It's weird.
There's a good amount of us.
No Bob, no Bobby, no.
Yeah, I have about probably 10 more years before Bob happens.
Yeah,
there's the name Robert's a lot like a Pokemon.
Yeah.
If you know, it's you start out as maybe Robbie.
Yeah,
and then you could move to Robert, then Rob, then Bob comes.
I like the way he thinks.
Yeah. I do too. Yeah, that's actually very.
That's
awesome.
So, Bob's about 55, 65.
So
there we go.
Close to your age.
Hey. All right now.
Does Mitch turn into Butch or something?
It's funny because I'm named after my father. And if I go to my parents' house, he's Mitch and I'm Mitchell.
Oh.
Okay. With my wife, I'm Mitchell.
Oh,
interesting story there. And I'll try to keep this brief. When we first met, her last name was Clark.
Uh-huh.
So I would call her Clark. Well, she would call me Mitchell because she thought that was my last name. Because I called her by her last name. She thought by calling me Mitchell, because my last name was Gregory. Mitchell, Gregory. People frequently confuse the two and think one's the wrong one's the last name.
Because they're both first names.
Or last names.
People like to call me John Stone.
because of your last name?
Yeah.
I'm
I'm going to put myself on mute now.
Okay.
Don't carry on.
We'll just have comfort knowing you're there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. He's just the guy that's there. Yeah. Well, I know that for a fact that whole scenario was really fun setting up payroll with your name.
It always is.
Yeah. I got a bunch of emails who's Mitch?
I got to the point in elementary and high school when they would just say Gregory Mitchell. I would just say here. I stopped correcting them and just said fine. One more little story. Since we're talking about this, my youngest daughter's name is Kirsten, Kirsten. When she was in elementary school, she'd go through the lunch line.
Uh-huh.
And they somehow, I guess they knew her my name, but they always want to call her Kristen.
Right.
Or something like that. Or Christine. And she would tell them, my name's Kirsten. My name's Kirsten. And she just went through one time and she goes, well, hello, Christina. She goes, it's Kirsten. Oh, okay. And she got to pay. And she went to walk away and said, okay, have a nice day, Christina. And she just dropped her head.
Yeah, sometimes unfortunately, if you have one of those names, you just kind of have to surrender to the, whatever. I'll see this person maybe once in my life, and that's it, and get over it. So.
Yeah, part of me kind of feels guilty. I mean, because we named her, but I mean, how hard is it to pronounce Kirsten?
Well, for me, if I hear a name a certain way once, it just sticks to me. Johnstone. Like none of that is, none of that's going to stick. I'm never going to call you that. I hope you're okay with that because I just can't. I'm just going to Robert. If we're going to talk about Rob or Sass, now that I'll remember. But Robert will always forever be the guy in the booth.
Until he evolves to his next stage.
Yes. Yeah, it's like comes out of his cocoon and all that.
Right.
Anyways, it's sort of like, I guess, we're talking on topic about brand positioning because, this is how we think about someone.
Where it sits in your headspace?
Yeah. Once it gets there, man, it's there. It's anchored.
That's right.
So Doritos does not make barbecue sauce. No one ever thinks of that. You may think about tailgating. You may think about a party. But no, you're thinking about chips that have that, dusty goodness on your fingertips when you eat them.
And shape.
Yes, the triangle.
I think the shape is probably a huge characteristic that comes to mind when you think of Doritos. I don't just a rectangle. You don't see anything you don't see many triangular.
Yeah.
I guess you do, but it didn't seem like. It seemed like they were the first tortilla chip. That comes to mind when people remember.
Yeah.
Before Mexican restaurants were so ubiquitous.
Yeah. Well, every brand, when it starts out, it wants to try to branch out into different things and do different things. Our brand is kind of in that way, I guess. We have NerdBrand Agency, NerdBrand Podcast. FYI, get ahead of everybody. There will be another NerdBrand something. Just watch for next year. But, are they like separated from our original vision, everything? No, it's still called NerdBrand.
It's an extension.
Yeah, there. Thank you for filling in the blank there. So that's why we have Mitch as our creative director.
I am the blank filler. And it's always my fault.
Yeah, it's always his fault. He's been fired 5 times last week.
That's why it doesn't hurt my feelings anymore.
Yeah, that's okay. I got fired twice. Anyway, so brand positioning, how do others use it? GE, do they still bring good things to life?
I don't think they've used that line in a while.
Yeah, I still think of them as, when I think of GE, I think of appliances. What do you think of?
I think of, pretty much appliances. Refrigerators, stoves, washers, dryers.
Yeah. Robert, what about you?
I think about the 50 caliber machine gun in the F-18.
GE makes that?
Correct.
Really?
I'll be darned.
Yeah,
Wow.
Now you know.
I knew they made jet engines. I didn't know they made weapons.
Yeah.
They sure do.
Wow.
I'm going to definitely Google search that real quick.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we need a picture of
Our
that.
fact checkers are feverishly tapping away.
Yeah. Right now, everybody's like, "This is a different podcast today." I don't know.
Really?
Stand by.
It's never boring.
No, it's never boring. That's the whole point. We're in an industry that is such filled with variety anyway. So, when we talked about doing a podcast, when I talked with the original host of the podcast, Brandon Jones, he has a podcast called Animation Destination. So there's a free plug for him. But it was mostly like, how can we talk about brands in the nerd culture? And we knew that would touch basically everything, and everybody would have an opinion, and there'd be tons of stories associated with it. Just because of how they're treated. But there are so many pieces of branding that are buzzwordy, like this one, brand positioning. So someone selling you that, I'd like to kind of say, don't necessarily latch on to that as a thing, as we call widgets.
Oh yeah. It's like it's not one of those off the shelf things you buy that magically transforms your advertising or your marketing, like digital anything.
Yeah.
There's no magic bullets, and we don't sell things.
Yeah.
We sell a philosophy and a process.
Mm-hmm.
Positioning is part of that process.
Yeah. We operate on processes for web, branding, just marketing, even everything, because we need to understand the steps and where we're at with our customers as much as they need to, so that we're all in sync, because money and effort and time is being spent, and the world is going to look at that and go, I'm really not convinced about this meta thing. We don't want to help contribute to the world of memes.
Yeah.
So, and there's a brand that's like,
it's so meta.
It is. Yeah. You know what? I did Instagram a thing today. I added for the first time. I know this sounds terrible. It's like, you guys do branding. Like, look, that's not me. That's Jonathan. So we have a Jonathan. Jason doesn't do the whole social stuff. But, I was like, hey, I'm going to try to do a story on Instagram. Because, when you and I think of stories, we think of branding. We don't really think of like, it's a story.
It's getting there, though.
Yeah, it's getting there. But I did. I posted a story for the first time. And I asked John, I said, how'd I do? And he was like, well, you didn't F it up.
Which is always a good thing.
And I was like, that's the most encouraging thing I've heard from you in years.
It's always a good thing. It's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. So while Robert's looking up GE and machine guns, KFC.
Yes.
What comes to your head when I say that?
I mean, maybe some of these things are generational, but I see the Colonel's face immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, which is funny because I don't think, my brain gets to the chicken part, but when you say KFC, I see the branding. I don't see the product. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do actually. I do. I believe it or not. I mean, my dad would talk about something on Hurstbourne Lane where the Colonel's house was at. He'd sit there, something. I don't know. My dad may have been like telling me one of those dad stories that's made up. So they tend to do that.
Well, I don't know if it was Hurstbourne Lane, but if you head toward Shelbyville on Shelbyville Road, US 60, there's Claudia Sanders' dinner house.
Yeah, that might have been it.
Maybe that's what he was thinking of.
He probably was thinking about that. But
I used to think that big white, if anybody who lives in Louisville is listening to the podcast, you go down, you're on the Watterson, and you get past Newburgh.
Yeah.
And you see the Yum headquarters.
Right.
Well, for the longest time, before it was Yum headquarters, it was just KFC headquarters. And it looked like a big,
mansion.
southern mansion, big white with columns and everything, and that was KFC headquarters.
Right, yeah.
When I was a kid, I thought he lived there. Well, it looked like a house. It looked like a really big
it still does. It's still there.
Along with other buildings.
Yeah, it's kind of like the White House. It has expanded into other buildings and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's
like government.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's a different podcast. I actually think of Yum because it's been around so long and associated with Yum.
Well,
but
there's a generational thing.
Yeah.
There, so.
But the funny thing is though, when I think of Yum, I don't think about the other brands in Yum.
Yeah. Well, because they kind of, when you think about it, KFC is the reason Yum exists.
Right.
At least to me. For some, and I could be wrong. I don't recall the history exactly. I have to go back and look. But it almost seems like KFC was the anchor that took on the Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
And the Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And what was it? Somebody help me out here if you're listening. It was
A&W.
It was KFC. Then didn't PepsiCo, that is the company that Pepsi became, PepsiCo, at one time I thought owned KFC and the other two brands, Pizza Hut and Taco Bell. And then they changed the name to Yum. And I remember, now it's all coming back to me now. They said, when they announced the new brand that was Yum, we all just kind of looked at each other. Like,
I remember that moment.
Yum.
I actually do remember that moment. We used to call them Kafako Huts.
Careful how you say that.
Yeah, you should be careful how you say that. But it was Kentucky Fried Chicken and Pizza Hut and a Taco Bell all in one. And then they started doing an A&W, and now we have a Long John Silver's.
Yeah, there's Long, but they've since sold off the Long John Silver's, spun off Long John Silver's. I think they spun off A&W too. But.
Yeah, it's inevitably gonna happen where you're gonna have the acquisition of things anyway.
It's interesting talking about brand positioning and a corporate behemoth corporate behemoth like Yum that has other sub brands under it. And when you ask people, when you mention a huge corporate entity like that and you say their brand, it is interesting to see what comes to mind, especially a brand like Yum, which has so many brands that are like big kind of staple American brands that have been around a while.
Yeah. Well, it's really easy to figure out what your brand positioning is if you just don't tell people where you're from. Just tell them the name and what do you think of when you hear that, and they'll tell you.
And do parent brands like Yum, do they think about positioning? Or like Unilever,
I don't
do
think
they think about positioning as a
I don't
as
think,
a parent brand?
I don't think as a parent, no, because I don't think they need. Well, obviously, we're talking about these are multi-million-dollar ones. They don't need to. This is not an issue. You know, they've spent years fixing this many, many moons ago. So it's sort of like, you know, if you're Kentucky Fried Chicken, nobody's going to think like, oh, we'll get a fish sandwich there. Now, at one time, I'm sure they sold them and may still do. I don't know. It was kind of, you know, I would recommend watching the movie The Founder with Michael Keaton to kind of see the reasoning and whys and all that. It's a very fascinating movie. Plus, anything with Michael Keaton in it is worth spending your time on. I don't think they have to. But I think when they originally start, like Long John Silver's is like, leans into fish, you know, if you're a pirate and
if you're a pirate.
But
it's funny because when
it could have been a financial firm for all we know, you never know where it could go.
I'm trying to think because I'm old enough to remember when Long John Silver's first arose, and I'm trying to think about what their mascot was, and there might have been a pirate involved. But
yeah,
I don't. But
probably.
I don't, it doesn't. It's not.
It's not a boat anchor. That's Moby Dick's.
Yeah,
or
but
Moby Richards for those that are.
No, it's
ultra.
It's a big. It's a big whale. It's a big whale.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's a big whale. Well, what am I thinking about an anchor? Maybe that is Long John Silver's.
Maybe it's kingfish.
Oh, it could be. Yeah, it's all this fish. I don't know. Why are we talking about fish so
I
much?
don't know, but I'm getting hungry now.
I know. I'm getting there too.
So brand positioning.
Yeah. So brand position. You asked, like, do they think about it?
That's the corporate brand. Do they worry about, you know, as a parent brand? Do we worry? Do we consider our brand positioning? There's some of the logos.
Yeah, look at how that's changed over the years. Long John Silv, really?
It's funny though, I think it must have got cut off. It's if you look at there it is. There was the one on the lower. If you look at that one on the lower right, there was. I remember it now.
Okay,
but it's been a long time.
Yeah, that's pretty old, Mitch. I mean, I know you're not that old. Give me a break now. You can't be.
What year did it have a year attached to it? 70s, yeah.
Okay, well.
Yeah, I'm that old.
Wow, I was born in 76 for context for those listening.
Yeah, it looks like Cracker Barrel.
It
Cracker
does,
Barrel
does it?
fish shop.
It does.
But
yeah.
They had the metal roof with a weathered wood sidings, which I guess they've kind of maintained up until very, very recently.
Mm-hmm.
But the logo has changed. But they kind of kept, the stores kind of kept that same sort of seaside shack.
But that's like visuals, identity kind of stuff is how I associate that. That's your logo, even your store and the things you do. But at no point would one go there and think I'm going to get a hamburger or I'm going to hot dog stand or ice cream, right? So. Right. I think that they probably didn't have to think of it in that way because they're in that. It's a restaurant,
that niche they occupy.
Yeah.
And that goes to another part of brand positioning, whereas the positioning of a brand like a Long John Silver's versus and I can't think of one off the top of my head. I guess Mitchell's Seafood Market,
mm-hmm.
which is a higher end, I guess, seafood.
Now, in that
restaurant.
respect, yes, then you would have to definitely pay attention because of that position. It's a different audience.
Exactly, and that's another manifestation of positioning.
Right.
It's not just positioning. What do people think of the product itself, or what immediately comes to mind, but how do you position yourself as opposed to other types of entity like you that differentiate you from those others.
Yeah,
that's important.
I had somebody this week as I was talking with them. They said the term brand promise. And
how lofty.
I know, but true. It's a thing. And I haven't heard it in forever.
The term?
Yeah. I know what it is, but I've not heard it. And I told them, I was like, you're the first person to ever I've heard utter that, but yet also understand what it means.
So what does it mean?
We'll save that for another show.
You throw that out there, now you just let it hang.
Yeah, I don't want to put out another you got the term. You want to Google it, go right ahead. But not talking to you, Robert. Not saying you got to Google it. That's you get too many terms thrown around. You just look like a Webster's dictionary.
I mean, I wish I could remember. I'm going to have to bring it in here. I've always wanted to I wanted to make like a knitted sampler of it, hang on the wall. I can't remember off the top of my head, but David Ogilvy said something about jargon, and I'll look it up for next time.
Okay.
And bring it in. But I mean,
Well, that may actually be a good show because, I mean, I've got 2 shows I'm still developing, not Christmassy related, that I'm trying to figure out, like, what we're going to talk about. So, I don't know. We'll do that. We'll talk about jargon because...
Ogilvy's one of my heroes, but I don't, like I said, I can't remember the quote, but he really disliked jargon.
Oh, I do too. It's like, I call them buzzwords.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like buzzword, marketing, buzzword, marketing, buzzword. That's
like
what
I said.
say.
I'll find the quote and bring it, but it was something to the
Yeah.
effect that it's a place for people who think they're smart to hide.
Well, yeah. Well, it's sales typically use it so that they can further an account. I've been having conversations with this a lot today or this month or week because of we've added Coral Abud to our team as brand consultant and image specialist, and it's like trying to be very careful about talking about going past the perceived need when somebody asks you for help. If they feel that if you've done your job as in this positioning, they would come to us and, can you help me with that?
Right.
So there's something that obviously we've done to show that, yes, we do that.
To position ourselves correctly.
Yes.
I think it's a great point. The value that positioning offers the consumer and it helps you in the long run as a business.
Right.
If people know why they need to come to you, what they need to come to you for.
Right.
Part of how you accomplish that is by positioning yourself correctly.
Yes. So anyway, the perceived need may have been that, but it's not like a core service. Like, obviously it's in our name, NerdBrand Agency.
Right.
That was on purpose. But it's like they came to us for help with web. And it's like, okay. So we just kind of want to make sure we stick onto that. We'll get to the other stuff later. It'll show up. Because if you go in with a bunch of buzzwords, now you're making the water even more muddier. It's kind of like if you go diving and you just kick the sediment at the bottom and you're trying to look for something. Now you got mud everywhere.
Well, the conversation when you get into a conversation with a client or potential client, and like you said, they come in and maybe the immediate need is web or something in the web realm. We all know that web ties in with everything else you're doing from a branding, marketing, advertising standpoint. It's
it's an ad.
Well, right, because everything is an ad. But if they're not ready to have that discussion, if they're not mentally prepared,
Right.
if you will, if the for lack of a better description, if the battleground has not been prepared to enter into that discussion, you don't want to go there because they're not ready.
Yeah.
To your point, address the immediate need.
Yeah.
But start planting those seeds. This is a problem. We'll take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
But we can also look at what this will give us the opportunity to do is to look at how this is going to affect A, B, C, and D as we move forward.
Yeah, you get 6 months down the road. Like, if we don't fix this and get this positioned correctly,
Right.
Everything's off. You don't have a plumb line. You don't, good luck putting the house up, and it's staying that way. So that's sort of the whole point of all this and what this means. So it does have, like you said, it has a there's kind of multi-definitions to it or multi-facets to it or whatever the best way to say that is. I am not the person to say things the best way when it comes to that. I'll just throw out some stuff, and when I see heads nod.
Not a wordsmith.
I got it right. No, I'm not a wordsmith, but I have laid down some mean copy in my day. So you brought up PepsiCo, another one I have on the list to talk about. Yes, we have a list. This is actually prepared. Believe it or
right
not.
here.
I know it's right
Right here.
Right here.
You can, if you can't see it, it's right here.
Yeah, we do our jobs. Anyways, moving on. Maid is actually a part of PepsiCo.
Yep, I think I knew that.
Yeah, so Coca-Cola is a soft drink company, and Pepsi
They're a beverage company.
Yeah, they're a beverage company. My fault. They're a beverage company. PepsiCo is a food company.
If you can drink it, they make it.
That'd be our attempt to hit the what? What is that? Georgian? Is that West?
That's what you call generic Southern.
Or did you go West Virginia?
That's generic Southern.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
If you go east and south, it just gets a little slower and a little more like this, like a North Carolina.
if John were here, he would be like, "Stop." He's the regulator. He's like, "No, quit it."
No,
yeah,
stop.
no impressions. Anyways, Minute Maid, not a maid service. So, that's another name that...
Which is kind of unfortunate because when you think about it, it would be a nice name for one of those.
Yeah, get it to it, get your house cleaned in a minute.
Yep.
Minute Maid.
we're quick. We're quick about it.
But no, it's
We're
orange.
efficient.
But no, it's orange juice.
Yeah, it's so funny. You think about, I mean, brands like that, brand names that have been around like that for a long time, and how they came up with that name because they wanted to position themselves in that world at that date and time for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in a way, yeah, that need is probably archaic by now.
Mm-hmm.
But because there's so much brand equity in
there
that,
you go again.
in that name, it doesn't make sense to change it, even though the name in today's context really doesn't make a whole lot of difference.
Yeah.
God, it was something. Oh, we were watching something on TV the other night. It was an episode of Seinfeld, which was made in the 90s. And Kramer gets in the refrigerator and gets out a carton of milk, and it says, I don't know if anybody remembers, seal test. And my daughter said, and I said, oh, look, seal test. She goes, seal test? What's that? I said, it's the brand on that carton of milk. I said, I remember that brand. She goes, what does that even mean? So it's funny how these brands can exist that have existed for a long time, and their name really has no connection to anything in the modern age or in the current age.
Right, yeah.
But it still has weight. It still means something. Minute Maid, for example. Coca-Cola is another. Considering the fact that Coca-Cola originally, you said earlier before we started recording, Coca-Cola at one time in its very beginning had cocaine in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of where the name sort of comes from. It also comes
Right.
from the cocoa bean or coca, the coca plant or something like that. But anyway, cocaine. But now we all know it does not have cocaine.
No. You're not going to drink a Coke and be hyper and more of whatever you are.
Well,
because that's what
they
cocaine.
do put caffeine in it. But why do you think they put caffeine in it?
Well, yeah.
Because they can't put, because long ago they determined they couldn't put cocaine in it.
Yeah. We have to do like a star now. The more you know. Burp, beep, burp, beep.
That's right. You'll learn things with us
Yeah, you will.
if you're not careful.
So if it's useful or not, that's up to you though. Domino's. It's not Domino's Pizza anymore.
Oh no, because they do more than pizza.
Yeah. So this is you brought up earlier. Did they think about brand positioning? Yep, this one definitely did because they were like, we need to change ours, and they did. This happened like 5 years ago?
It's been a few years.
Yeah.
Because now they do pizza, they do wings. They do-
Lasagna. Look at Robert in the booth.
They do pasta and desserts.
Yeah, they do dessert. They do desserts.
Desserts.
That's
shorthand.
That's a short. Yeah, that's shorthand.
You got that killer lava cake.
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
Lava cake.
That is true.
Yeah, I made the mistake.
Mhm.
I made the mistake a couple weeks ago because I did order some Domino's and I got the cinnamon twists instead of the lava cakes, and I caught heck from it from the fam.
Ooh. And you live with 3 ladies, so how are you still here?
Anytime I order Domino's, it's a mistake. But I also live by myself.
I understand. I feel your pain.
Well,
It was one of those moments where I don't want to go get anything. I want someone to bring it to me, and I want it like now.
yeah. Well, that's something that we're all going to have to readjust for other reasons. But again, that's another podcast. But yeah, Domino's Pizza, that's a position change. Even for the stores, the signage, the logo, everything changed.
Yep.
Funny enough, though, what was it, like 6 months ago, they brought back the Noid?
Briefly.
Yeah, briefly.
I don't think you see him now. Not right now.
No, he's gone again.
And there's another pizza brand that has altered their name visually.
Yeah.
But also, and what's the word I'm looking for? But they changed it's not the spelling, but the punctuation. They removed some punctuation from the name.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's not Papa John's, as in it belongs to John.
Mm-hmm.
It's Papa John's, as in Papa plural John's.
Yeah, because everybody says Papa John's. So, yeah, I can see the reason for that. We know there's other things, but
I don't understand it, other than it seemed like an easy and cheap way to remove any connection from the previous administration, if you will.
Yeah.
So what's an easy way? Well, just knock that apostrophe out of there.
Yeah, knock that out. I mean, we had I remember Arby's a while back. They revised their brand and logo to something that the entire world was like, nope. But the cleverness of it was missed entirely. And I do call it clever, and I know you don't like clever, but the whole
Depends how you
idea,
define it.
the apostrophe in Arby's was like the blade of a meat slicer, and it was cutting into I believe the S or something, and then they made the logo a little bit 3D. It lasted for about a couple weeks, and then they rolled it back to the classic.
The hat.
They kept the hat, but they shortened it, I think. There's been a lot of missteps with a lot of brands, and making changes in your logo like that, to go back to the, like using Domino's as an example, is like, well, that's a significant position shift, because now we don't want to really just be that or associate it with just that.
Well, it's Papa John's. It's a positioning shift with them as well, because the other rationale they're using to support the changes they made is that it's John's plural because it belongs to everybody.
Yeah.
Which, then where does the Papa come from? I don't know, to me, it just seems a little
But then again,
convoluted.
It's sort of like, do you remember H&S Hardware?
Yes.
I never put together the H was for father. It was like father and sons. That's what it was.
Where did the H come from?
I have no idea. It must have been the name of the dad, maybe? I don't know. It's an old kind of name. So anybody out there listening?
Oh, it was an abbreviation of probably, I don't know, Hamilton and Sons Hardware.
Maybe.
H&S.
Yeah.
Or something.
I know right now Robert in the booth is like Googling the crap out of everything. You can't keep up, man. Just quit.
H&S, it's H and as in ampersand.
Was it? Yeah. It was. I worked there for like 2 weeks when I was 18.
Really?
Would you like to hear this story?
Do we have time?
Oh, yeah, we got time.
Bring it on.
Yeah. So I got fired because I didn't go in for like there was a shipment or something. I wasn't told that. And so I had a couple days off. So I took it, So I went home, spent time with my dad, and they called me. I ignored it because I was like, what the heck, So
I'm off today. Why are they calling?
Yeah, you're making. I think at the time I was paid like $5.50 an hour. So like honestly, would you answer on a Saturday or Sunday? So I went in and the guy was like, "Hey, fired, died," and he was just a, I don't care if it's bleeped or not. He's just an ass. So within 2 weeks, I got hired as a mechanical designer and engineer, and I drove past the store in a brand new Camaro Z28, and I waved at him.
How you
doing? Yeah. I was 19, by that time. So it's what you do.
It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. Yeah, I guess it's a good feeling.
Yeah.
When you're wrong and you're able to kind of rub it, and you come out better on the other side and kind of rub it in your nose. Rub the nose in a little bit.
But anyways, dovetail back in the topic, brand positioning a lot is changing because of what's happening with COVID and everything going on right now. A lot of employers are having to consider this because they're having trouble either hiring or retaining talent. So, which, for those listening, please go back and watch or listen to on YouTube. Look for NerdBrand, or just find us anywhere on social at NerdBrand Agency, or go to nerdbrandAgency.com/podcast and look at the show or listen to the show we did with Mary Reed from Edge Employment. Yep. She was very good about what she had to say about how this should work and behave. And
if you think about it, positioning, there's maybe different kinds of positioning is the better way to describe it. Mm-hmm. You've got the positioning that involves the consumer mind, but you've got positioning from a corporate cultural standpoint, and I think that's what you're getting to.
Yeah,
and that kind of bleeds into what is now very popular, a social consciousness type of.
Yeah.
How do you position yourself in the minds of consumers, not just regarding your product itself?
Yeah.
But the philosophy, persona, how your brand interacts with a larger world.
And I appreciate you saying that, because that's exactly where I was getting to, like branding and everything that you're doing. Because a lot of people are like, well, what's the difference between branding and marketing, and why do I need branding? This is it. You're creating in your company a culture internally, and you're projecting it externally to sell what you're passionate about, hopefully, and what you want to do.
But it hits people's it hits people in a lot of different ways other than the need or desire for your specific product. That's what's so interesting.
How many people that work at Ford drive Toyotas? I mean, think about it.
I don't know what they make them park in a separate lot.
I probably do. But, you have to think about it. How many people that work at, like we mentioned, GE, how many people work there and have, a Samsung refrigerator or whatever, or in Robert's case, are shooting a Smith & Wesson and
and not a GE.
But, it's sort of like does a couple things. It raises that question. What?
It's General Dynamics, by the way.
Oh, it's General Dynamics.
I messed it up.
Oh, well, that's all right.
Yeah, we'll keep it in there.
That's okay. I mean, it's an interesting thing. Just as a side note, when I went on vacation a few weeks ago, and I stopped on the way down. We stopped at the NASA the Space Center down in Alabama, and they go through a whole history of the Apollo program. It's pretty amazing. You look at the number of contractors involved that had a piece of putting, and it's still true today when you look at the space program, all the different brands involved with putting that together. It kind of mind-boggling.
That's with any organization. I mean, we are one of 2 branding agencies at the table with at least a couple of customers we serve. It is possible to do this that way,
especially larger, more segmented companies.
And not only
layered,
that, it's
tiered.
like there's a lane that you all agree to stay in, so you don't tread on others, and you play nice. It's just good, business ethics, maybe is what you want to call it, I suppose. But at the end of the day, it's like they have their strengths and we have ours based upon who we have on staff. We don't go in and try to do something we don't have. If I don't have a person on staff that is specialized in this, then that's not something Coral and I or John go out and project. And internally, we don't either. I mean, in NerdBrand, we're all internally and externally, like pretty much, it's like what we call in web, WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. So, yeah, that's sort of the way that you would want it to work, because you're going to attract talent by that, because it's genuine. We talked about that before, about authentic.
Which is part of positioning.
Yeah. So positioning of your brand is a very, very important thing to remember. I'm going to tap my phone for the time here because I don't want to get run over with.
Well, it's what we've hit on. I think it's important to keep in mind, for brands to keep in mind, that positioning isn't about just where your brand sits in the brain of your consumer. It's how your brand sits in the brain of your consumer, your vendors. What kind of relationship is it? Does that genuineness follow through between what you say about your brand externally? Does that follow through internally with your employees? Which, I was thinking about this. As much as you hear me preach about it, saying you've got to live it,
yes,
to sell it. Okay,
yeah,
because people in the outside world, people have, they can find out how real you are by just Googling. Okay,
yep.
Internally, if people are all on the same page about who you are as a brand internally, and if you're practicing what you preach from an internal standpoint, it makes it that much easier for them to advocate for your brand in the course of just doing their job. And it makes it easier to tell a organic, natural, true story to the larger world.
Yeah. Yeah. If they believe it too, then anybody they go out and talk to either, I know it's a bad word for some, to sell to or to help out or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I'm not going to listen to somebody that's not convinced about the thing they're telling me about that they want me to participate in.
I mean, we all go to work every day, and we all get a little jaded about our the day-to-day part of doing your job and going to work. You can't get away from it. But by the same token, if you're a brand especially if you're a brand that touts, we respect you as a consumer. Well, then you better respect the people that work within the organization too, because respect is something it's got to be consistent in every interaction. So if you don't really respect the people that work for the brand, how in the world are you going to respect the people out there that you want to partake in your brand?
Yeah.
So it's funny how positioning kind of connects very, very tightly with something we've talked about before, and that's authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all of this, you're better off if it's organic and if it's real than if you have to make it up out of whole cloth. It takes a lot less work from our side to create strong branding. If the things that you're telling us about you and your brand and what you do, what you believe, what you think, what you live is real. It makes it so much easier to brand something like that than something that's like, well, yeah, we do this and we say this about our brand, but it's not really like that. I mean, let's be honest. We're our hamburgers aren't really made of beef. They're made of, soy and stuff. But, we want people to think they're made of beef because it doesn't matter.
I thought you were going to say like pink goop. And I'm like, I don't know.
That's hot dogs, isn't it?
No, I don't know. Maybe. We don't know what's in a hot dog. Let's be honest.
I don't want to.
Yeah. But no, you're right. I mean, it really does make the job easier, but it also makes whatever we're trying to accomplish after starting to do campaigns with them, those become successful and they start to see that ROI as they want to see. And it just really does help. It's exciting to work with people that kind of get that. Many times when we're talking to folks and they want our help, we kind of I know they're qualifying us because there's money going to be spent, but also we're qualifying them. Like, can we help them? And do we are they ready for help?
Let me ask you this. On a serious question. It kind of comes to mind because we were talking about Yum, for example, and how they went through that phase, and I guess they still are in it to a certain extent, where they'll have one building with 2, maybe 3 different of their brands occupying the same space,
mm-hmm.
which I can see from certain standpoints where that might make some sense.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think that has any effect on the positioning of any of the brands in people's mind? Or is fast food, for example, so far down on the tier that people just don't think that deep?
Well, I think that's the answer. But I do know an organization that sold software specific to what I used to do years ago. And they had 4 or 5 options for it. And each option had a marketing director who had a copy of Canva or Photoshop. And they wanted the web guy, a.k.a. was not me, but was interviewing for it. And when I found this out, I was like, nope. And they wanted to have me do these different web pages. Now, each of these people, and this is normal, this is human nature, they all have a different eye for what is looking nice, what they like to see as an ad, what they like to see or read as copy that they think is appropriate for that branch of the main brand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to avoid saying who this is, and because and they wouldn't know. It's I'll tell you guys later after the show's off. But it's like they all had their opinions, and there was really no data for me to look at and say that's a valid opinion. But the problem is, it looks like just scattered.
Yeah,
and the position is all different. Everybody believes something different. So if you all sat in a room together, whoever's the head of marketing, the C-suite, if they sat in a room, nothing matches. The message is, everything's broken.
Right.
So yes, the position will get broken because they may sell software and that's the thing, but that's not the position.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I think that maybe we want to land on and end with is that, your positioning is not the thing you do. It's not the what.
Well, Robert just pulled up the Arch Deluxe debacle. With McDonald's, which to my mind was sort of it was in that era when Burger King and McDonald's were really fighting tooth and nail against.
And I haven't seen that in years
against
Robert.
each other. And that was to be honest, that was McDonald's answer to the fact that Burger King, they tout the fact that their burgers, they're made to order let's be specific. They are assembled to order.
Yeah.
Every time. Well, and people like the taste of that assembled to order burger. Well, the Arch Deluxe was kind of their attempt to compete with that. But this goes to positioning. When you think McDonald's, they've done such, to their credit, have done such a good job over the last 40, 50 years, whatever it is, of saying this is the thing we've perfected and do better than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like every time they've tried to deviate from that to be a little more like some of their competitors, it never works. Why is that? Because they are positioned in the consumer's mind to be a certain way, which has been their strength.
Yeah. Yeah. Can make a comparison away from fast food on that and go right back to the core of Nerd Brand and the nerd part, and we'll address the thing that you always shake your head at. How many times, Jason, can you mention this? Who else does this from an entertainment movie perspective where they deviate, and when they do, it don't go well?
I don't know.
I don't know. Let's see. The first letter of the name is D.
Oh, okay.
And then the last one is C.
DC/Warner.
Yes. Stop it. Those characters are templated. They are, Superman is hope. Wonder Woman is truth.
Yeah,
Batman is
but
justice.
I would
don't
argue,
deviate. Not everybody's Batman and mopey and angry.
I don't even think it goes that deep. Simply because, at least not to that point, because I think that the hope, et cetera, that's a fairly contemporary positioning.
No, it does.
Of those characters, but by the same, your point still holds though.
Yeah.
People think when they think of Superman, when they think of Batman, when they think of Wonder Woman, which Wonder Woman's one they've done fairly, with the exception of the second movie, maybe.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah, that's all. Those like McDonald's.
Yeah.
Those are characters that are positioned in the public's mind that exist in a certain space, and its roots go very deep.
Yeah, yeah. You can try. Deviating is a strong word, but. Because in McDonald's case, they were trying to see if a product line or something new would resonate. People would latch onto it.
Well, they were trying to keep up with the competition.
Yeah, the Big Mac was not probably on the original menu of McDonald's.
No,
that came later.
Came about 20 years later.
Yeah, so sometimes they were just trying to think. It's fine. But that's going to pretty much wrap up our show, I think, for this week on brand positioning. What is it?
Do you have questions about it?
Yeah,
Come see us.
We do have comment sections on things like YouTube's and all that, and you can leave a comment, subscribe at YouTube, click the bell so that you get notifications.
I want to throw out a challenge to people that are listening. Use those comment sections. Throw us some feedback. Throw us some questions. Throw us some ideas, maybe some things we haven't discussed that you'd like to hear us talk about, or it may be some things we have talked about, but you want to hear there's something we didn't hit that you'd like to maybe hear us, talk about a little bit.
By now we have 84. This is number 84. Surely out of the 84 that we have already done, there is a library there to go, and where we can even go back and reinvite, previous guests. Our next episode, we're going to have Jason Bernard back talking about brand SERP and stuff, and then we've got Matt Jones returning as a special guest, and then we also have Coral returning for a Christmassy episode, of which I am struggling to write the outline on that one. I really am.
Maybe it'll be a potpourri, a free-for-all, if you will.
I don't know. She's going to yell at me. That's all I know. She's going to be like, why are you such a Grinch? And I'm like, I can't help it. It's just,
Mr. I don't have a Christmas tree.
Well, I don't. I'm a single man. Like, Robert, help me out here. I'm a single guy. It's a lot of work to clean up and fix later just to look at yourself.
I have one. It's like this big. It's the size of this water bottle. I put it on my windowsill. Christmas. It's Christmas in my house.
It's a Charlie Brown.
But you have something, Robert.
Yeah.
You at least acknowledge the fact that it is the season.
I bought icicle lights this year for my front porch, and they're in the box.
Okay.
I get to them.
I got to do mine next weekend.
All right, fine. Jason's just a total Grinch. All right,
You're a mean one.
I don't even have
Mr. Grinch.
I know. I don't even have a dog I can strap a reindeer horn on the head of it. So I don't need one of them.
Let's go find a dog.
Oh, yeah. And then watch my allergies just light up and kill me. Anything with hair and 4 legs ain't happening in my house. Sorry. Anyways, back to plugging the show. You can subscribe. Do what Mitch says. Don't make Mitch beg. And then check us out at nerdbrandagency.com/podcast. And everybody out there, remember, keep your nerd brand strong.
Never forget those finger guns.
Never forget.
Part of it
always. It's part of the culture of the show now.
Yeah, it's part of the culture because you do it and don't quit.
It's corny on purpose.
I know.
Nothing's wrong with consistency.
Corny. You want to guess who called me